Welcome to See You on the Other Side, where the world of the mysterious collides with the world of entertainment. A discussion of art, music, movies, spirituality, the weird, and self-discovery. And now, your hosts, musicians and entertainers who have their own weakness for the weird, Mike and Wendy from the band Sunspot.
Wendy and I are at Plank and Bray Road here near Elkhorn, Wisconsin, after our show in Delavan. And it's not quiet.
Scary. Ooh. There's a weird cow making sounds.
Yeah, there's like a screaming bird.
Yeah.
Like,
It's spooky looking. There's like mist on the like fog on the road, and it's extremely dark. The stars are out, but they're starting to cloud over a bit.
yeah.
Oh, I just saw a shooting star.
Oh, God, I thought you saw the red eyes of the beast. I was like, oh, God, I see the beast. I guess you'd probably scream if you saw it.
I would be gone so fast.
Okay.
I would be running the other way. That was really cool.
All right, here's a car coming, so we're going to head out. But this is Bray Road,
I
and
can see, just the darkness alone, I could see where stories could come out of this.
yeah, but Wendy and I see you on the other side, on the lookout for the beast.
Well, that was a fun little excursion, wasn't it?
That was actually pretty scary
It was.
because there was no light. I did see, I saw a car driving away, far away on Plank Road, and it did look like two red eyes. in the
Okay,
distance.
but I mean, really, somebody's going to see that and be like, it's a beast.
Well, you never know. I mean, some of these things were seen at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And you know what happens at 2 o'clock?
People see things that aren't there.
Right. Especially when they're coming home from the bar
Yeah.
in southeastern Wisconsin.
I know, but I mean, come on. Tail lights from a car.
I'm just saying, I saw the
Oh, man, you'd have to be pretty.
And the first thing I thought was, the first thing I thought was like, oh, it's there. Well, I actually did have a jump scare though. When you said you saw something or you saw a shooting star, you're like, I
yeah.
saw a shooting star. And then I thought that was it. I
No,
thought
that was so cool.
we were about to be devoured by the beast of Bray Road. A shooting star. Well, that's much nicer than a werewolf.
Well, it was so dark that I was actually psyching myself out a little bit because I kept thinking, if a bear or some kind of wild animal were to sneak up and attack us, we wouldn't
Right.
see it at all. I mean, we'd hear it, obviously, but, unless it's a sneaky animal.
Unless it's a sneaky bear.
Right, which I don't know, but it was so dark. It was almost impossible to see where we were walking, so.
Right. There wasn't a moon out last night.
Right.
So I think that
That's
made
true.
it extra dark. So it was hard to see in front of you. And we had to use the flashlight even to get from the car to the
Yep.
sign. We put up a little picture.
Half a block away from the car.
Yes. So, but we did go to Bray Road and we did seek out the beast.
Yes.
And we didn't see anything.
Didn't see the
scary.
beast, but I mean, that road really is pretty scary. It's pretty,
Yeah.
it's very horror movie, little patches of fog coming up and just,
Well, it feels like the middle of nowhere.
yeah, darkness, and there's twists and turns in the road and trees everywhere. And so,
So if you're coming back from something late,
maybe a concert,
right. Well,
a
Alpine
rock
Valley.
band concert.
Alpine Valley was out there, so a lot of people were coming back for concerts.
I was thinking a Sunspot concert in Delavan, but
If you're
Sure.
coming back from our show in Delavan,
when we play Alpine Valley someday, we can
we
can do that too.
You can come back on Bray Road. So we went down there and it was pretty scary. So
It was. But the shows were a lot of fun.
yes. So
And-
we're talking to you right now from Waukesha, Wisconsin.
The Sha.
Because yesterday we played in Madison in the daytime, and then we played in Delavan, Wisconsin, which is southeastern Wisconsin, about an hour away from Madison in the evening. And we're getting set today to play in Milwaukee at the Wisconsin State Fair this afternoon.
That's right.
So we're just
We're in between tour stops.
yes today, and we thought we'd do a podcast today. 'Cause,
Yep. So we're staying at my sister's house and enjoying some nice hospitality. Got
yes,
some coffee
certainly
here,
are. Certainly are.
and yeah, it's kind of a nice little pause in between the chaos of shows.
And while your sister's house, I don't believe, is haunted. we were talking. So
Oh, gosh.
it was a funny thing today. So while we were having breakfast, she had paused the DVR.
Right.
And I was wondering, and I didn't realize that. So I came into the middle. It's like, so they had paused the DVR on the TV in the kitchen before I got in.
Yeah.
And then I get in there and we're hanging out for a few minutes. We eat. And I look at the TV and it's the same face that's been there. So it's like paused for 15 minutes. I'm like, what's that?
It's like a portrait.
And then they start talking about whatever they were watching, Court TV.
Yeah, it
or
was
something.
the crime channel, some
And-
murder case or something.
Right. And then Wendy's like, well, it's talking about murder. And then we look over and it starts going.
Like right when I said murder, the TV
Yeah.
started back up.
So it was, I mean, I'm sure it was a coincidence, but it was pretty funny because I'm like, what is that thing? And then Wendy tells me what it is. It says murder. And then it starts going like automatically.
Well, actually, Mike, I didn't want to ruin the fun, but that was an elaborate plan by me. I hit pause and then I started the timer and I waited just till that moment because I knew the timer was going to run out for the pause.
And you knew exactly when I would start
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
about it. Pretty good.
So thanks for playing your part in that.
Mm-hmm. But it was pretty weird that we just start talking about something and it starts moving. Like, hey, did you make that happen? So
Yeah.
anyway, coincidences abound. But
Right.
So that was our scary stuff last night and this
Yep.
morning. Today, though, we're talking about a different topic, one that's not so scary. And it's a little less paranormal than it's just scientific and something that's interesting. And that's the connection between music and sound and frequencies and things like that, and your physical body.
Oh, and I just realized that it's kind of poor timing because
Poor timing.
I just checked out a book from the library called "This Is Your Brain on Music."
Oh, okay.
I haven't read it yet though, so perhaps after reading that, I'll have some additional insights to
I
add to
read
this.
excerpts of that book
Yeah.
for this podcast.
Okay. Oh, great. Okay. Well,
And so, absolutely, music. I mean, there's a lot to the mind-body connection that we don't understand. Mm-hmm. Because, there's so many things that we can influence our bodies subconsciously. I mean, think about, when your pulse rate, just decelerates without, you just start thinking about calm thoughts and your pulse rate decelerates. And you are not consciously decelerating your
Right.
pulse rate, but it's
Right.
happening.
yeah.
Or even just, they say that positive thoughts can boost your immune system. Well, what's that about? Like, how can just thinking about something change it inside your
Yeah.
body, And beyond that, how can listening to something, hearing something, that kind of aural stimulus, how that can change your physiology. And it's just a real interesting thing. And as musicians, we think about those things all the time, too, because you want to think about what the crowd, how they're going to react to your song.
Yeah. Right.
And how are they going to, so there's the reaction you get, and especially in rock, I think this is a thing, because you play loud rock music, like in most live shows, like, can you even hear the words?
No.
No, you can't. Like, it's
Well, you can hear them, but you can't understand.
right, you don't know what the person's singing about. And so, unless it's like a sing-along part, or people already know the song, or it's just an acoustic guitar, you can't really tell what the person's
Right.
singing about. But it's the music, the frequencies, the notes, the harmonies, all those kind of things combine to give people a certain kind of feeling and have them physically react a certain way. So like when you hear something completely dissonant, like a major seventh, you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's in movies when they use the soundtrack to build suspense or things like that. Sometimes it's quietly in the background playing a certain chord or, thing, that dissonance that gives you that creepy feeling and you're not quite sure.
right, what's that? And it's just that little, it's so that just hearing notes can give a physical feeling of unsettling. Mm-hmm. And that's the power of, frequencies on our brain, which then happens to the rest of our body. Because everything has to filter through our head first. It's like
Right.
the CPU or whatever.
Yeah. It's like when you go running, I like to, whenever I go running, I like to put techno music on.
Sure.
So I have a podcast that I like to listen to that's just a driving beat, and I really notice a huge difference. Not just because I'm like running to the beat of the music, but because just the way that I feel like it,
Sure.
Gets me lifted up. And
I used to download the podcasts of D-Cron, the fitness DJ.
awesome.
and D-Cron, we'll put a link to his show. He doesn't do that many shows. So,
Okay.
like, most of what I was listening to was made in, like, 2013.
Okay.
But D-Cron, the fitness DJ. No, that name makes me laugh. He's like, hey, guys, it's D-Cron, the fitness DJ.
That's awesome.
And he'd always, he picks certain kind of tempos for different kinds of runs.
Oh, okay. That's great.
And
Yeah.
then he measures them to a certain time.
So you can
like
do-
he had a whole series of podcasts for like the New York City Half Marathon.
That's awesome.
And then you would, he's like, this is, if you want to and then he offers them for sale if you want them for a full marathon.
Okay.
But for like the half marathon, he's like, hey, you listen to this. And
It's like a sneak preview.
Yeah.
You could just play it through it twice if you're really cheapskate.
you could, but then you're not supporting D-Cron, the fitness DJ.
Right. No, I would definitely want to support him.
Yeah.
But that just it made me think of Andrew WK's wife, Sherry Lilly. She
Oh,
wears
yeah.
the leotard on stage and everything. And that cracks me up because it's just funny seeing somebody in a flash dance outfit on stage. But
Well, music and fitness, are
yeah,
very-
yeah.
remember
course.
Jazzercise?
Oh, I loved Jazzercise.
Yeah. And we have to put a Jazzercise video
Oh
in
my
the show notes
gosh.
for this one. So you guys
Oh,
can work,
man.
because you guys can work out at home.
Definitely. Yes. Yes. Okay. So we got a little off the track there, but
Yeah.
But it just got me thinking about
Jazzercise never gets anybody off the track.
what a difference. Sorry. Our hostess is waving things in the air over there. She's offering us beverages.
Oh, yeah. Good way to start the day.
The hospitality just doesn't stop
No,
here.
it does not. So, but that's the thing. We're
Yeah.
talking about how music accelerates our mood.
And it's cool because if you know that and you know its effects on you, you can use it to your advantage for things like exercising or like getting yourself in the mood to concentrate or focus on studying or, whatever it is you're doing. Or, I don't know, other physical activities, I guess.
Well, yeah. There's always the cliche of like, guys get a girl in their apartment or their dorm room, whatever, and then they put on some very light, some
right.
some slow jams, R&B, and that will often put people in the mood for love.
Yeah.
And so just different. It's accelerate. It enhances your mood.
Right.
And so there's a cool study just to talk about how music can help you make you happier. Scientists at the University of Missouri have found that people can boost their mood simply by listening to upbeat music. Now here's the quote from lead author Una Ferguson.
Okay.
Our work provides support for what many people already do: listen to music to improve their moods. Although pursuing personal happiness may be thought of as a self-centered venture, research suggests that happiness relates to a higher probability of socially beneficial behavior, better physical health, higher income, and greater relationship satisfaction. Okay, I think we can all agree with that while happiness can be sometimes a selfish thing, the happier you are, the nicer you usually are to other people.
Right. And the better you can do for the world, too, generally, right? I mean,
Yeah. Well, like I'm thinking about a situation we just had where we talked to a guy and we're like, how you doing? And what was the first thing he said?
grumpy.
Come on, that was the first thing he said. No, it wasn't the jerker. And he was like, I'm grumpy.
But it was like, hey, how's it going? Grumpy.
Right.
Okay.
If it had said happy and then given you a high five, or like, I'm having an awesome day, then it would immediately, you'd be like, okay, let's work together. Instead, you're like, uh-oh.
Right.
Somebody urinated in this guy's Cheerios.
Oh.
He might not even like Cheerios. I don't know. So in the study, participants improved their mood after being told to try to do so, but they only succeeded when they listened to the upbeat music of Copland, as opposed to the sadder tunes of Stravinsky.
Interesting.
Other participants who simply listened to the music without attempting to change their mood didn't report an increase in happiness. Now, one study showed that the preference for sad music was significantly higher when the people experienced an interpersonal loss as opposed to an impersonal loss, such as losing a game.
Huh.
So let's say the Packers lose.
Right.
Now, I mean, some parts of Wisconsin, like people are ready to jump off a bridge, right? And
It is disturbing how upset people get.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Monday after a Packers loss is, I used to hate going into work because everyone was in a bad mood, and it's just like, oh, come on, it's the sports ball.
right. It's not, of course you want your team to win,
But like, you're going to let it ruin your week because the team that, you have nothing,
So,
you
well,
have
this
energy invested in.
this is the University of Missouri, though, so they didn't study it. If they studied in Wisconsin, they may have found a different thing.
Results.
So, like, when the Packers lose, I mean, people just sit there and listen to they just listen to sad songs all the time. No, but so you prefer sad music, like after a breakup or when you're, in a fight with something like that. Like, so, and that's what the studies show that people do. Like, you're not going to pick "I'm Walking on Sunshine" after your girlfriend just says, me and your best friend have been hooking up the past couple of weeks. Then you're not going to be like, well, unless you hate your girlfriend and your best friend. And you're like, I am walking on sunshine. So you are sad. I mean, so you would pick a sad song. Like, no, everybody's like, okay, well, I might as well listen to some Radiohead. You're not going to put on Andrew WK after you just had a bad diagnosis or something like that.
Yeah.
You're like, let's get a party. No party's going to start tonight. So...
No parties tonight. Pity party, maybe.
Right. So that's why you drop in a little late 90s.
Some
British.
Sarah McLachlan, maybe.
Oh, yeah. And then you can just sit around and think about animals. Like,
oh, no, not that again.
You think about what we did to domesticated animals and how we ruined their lives.
Was so brutal.
In another study, people were presented with various frustrating situations and asked to rate angry music versus joyful or relaxing music. Consumers liked angry music more when they were frustrated by interpersonal violations. First of all, interpersonal violations, like that sounds nasty.
That's a weird way of saying whatever it is they're trying to say.
Yes. Like being stood up on a date.
Oh, okay. I was thinking.
So that's an interpersonal violation.
Okay, gotcha.
Then
breaking a contract.
There you go. They're breaking the social. Then by impersonal hassles like not having internet access. So they rated angry music higher when something hit them personally, rather than like,
sure, okay,
like the Wi-Fi. I don't have Wi-Fi in this coffee shop. They're not going to want to break stuff.
Yeah, it's more tightly tied to the real emotional versus just the frustration, surface level.
I think that totally explains the popularity of heavy metal.
Oh, yeah.
Among like certain populations.
Okay.
When you think about, or even the popularity of like angry rap and stuff like that among a demographic of guys that have it tough.
It's tied in with the emotion, the strong emotions that they're experiencing.
The feeling emotion, like interpersonal violations. Think about some dude, having a tough time with his job, having lower class, doesn't make a lot of money, having a tough time with girls, and all these kind of things are coming up. You're not going to listen to once again. I always pick "I'm Walking on Sunshine" for the happy song because that's the happiest song I know.
It is the penultimate happy song.
Right? You're like, yeah, I'm walking on sunshine, man. But you're going to listen to Limp Bizkit if you're like I think about my ex-convict roommate.
Right.
So he always had a tough time keeping a job. We can talk about my ex-convict roommate at length at another time, but I lived with a guy who was an ex-convict for a few years, or less than a year until he ran away. And but he loved like new metal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you get like 1999, and he's like, "Oh man, you heard this new jam by Limp Bizkit?" And I'm like, yeah, I have. And
jam.
And my ears find it offensive. And he's just like, I love it. And so like
your face when you said that.
He just loved it. And he'd come back from his frustrating construction job every day.
Yeah.
That he hated, where he hated his boss. And
so it all tied in with that style of music.
Right. And so he's just like, yeah, give me something to break. And, and the law is basically what he loved to break.
Oh, man.
So, but that's the thing. So the studies just showed that people prefer frustrating music when they're angry with their lives.
Okay.
So music
that's not shocking. I mean,
no, we didn't say we were coming out with like news flash every
right. No, I know, but it is.
So now, here's something: can music make you smarter? Now there's something a little different.
Okay.
That this is shocking. If you think that listening to music, can actually improve your IQ. Well, that was the theory behind this guy's book called The Mozart Effect.
Oh, sure. I remember when that came out.
And that was the idea that it was coined by a guy named Alfred A. Tomatis. I don't know if I'm saying it right because I've never heard his name said. But he was using Mozart's music and classical music to help people work on their spatial reasoning. people who had difficulty with spatial reasoning. And they gave research participants one of 3 standard tests of abstract spatial reasoning. And they experienced 3 listening conditions. 1 was a sonata by Mozart. 2 was verbal relaxation instructions. And I'm sure they were just like, all right now.
Right.
Just lay back and relax, man. And then third people had silence. They found a temporary enhancement of spatial reasoning as measured by the standard IQ test. And they showed an enhancing effect of the music condition is only temporary, though.
Oh,
so they listen
okay.
to music, but then they were better.
They get smarter and then they get dumber.
They were better at these tasks.
Okay.
And so this guy wrote a book called The Mozart Effect. And I mean, the theory was that listening to classical music can have an increase in your performance. All right, now, my favorite part about this, and this was a big deal at the time, but nobody remembers it. 1998, the governor of Georgia, his name is Zell Miller. He puts in the budget money for all expectant mothers to get a Mozart CD.
I'm going to make our population smarter.
Yes, he's going to do that. He puts it in the budget. He reads the Mozart Effect, and he put that he's going to do that. So, like,
wow,
the government was trying to make you smarter, and he proposes free music for infants. So newborns and expectant mothers to listen to Mozart. And,
Oh, my goodness.
he could have worked on the school system or tried, like a new kind of kindergarten, 4K, whatever. So, music, it's proven to make you a little bit smarter if you listen to classical. No word on what happens when you listen to Sunspot. Sunspot doesn't make you smarter, it makes you cooler. That's a study as proposed by people that go to our shows.
That's right, yeah.
So once they listen to our band, they come out better looking, in better shape, well informed, and more popular with their friends. Like immediately, we've seen this effect. Like once people, like our study was, we watched people who liked us on Facebook, and then you looked at their profile, and immediately their friends count went huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we call that the Sunspot effect.
Nice.
Okay.
Very scientific.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's just a little tip for you guys out there, if you're listening like our band. Facebook.com/sunspotmusic. So there's all these different things that, music is used for. And one of the big things is music therapy.
Yes, that is a big thing.
And music therapy has been, the idea of people being soothed by music who are in pain or sick goes all the way back to Plato. They did it in Greece. Like most things that we consider modern, it was done, 2,500 years ago.
Sure, yeah.
But it started getting really more modern and popular after the First World War. So people would, because you had soldiers coming back and these guys lost limbs and, the First World War was brutal.
Yeah.
I'm still listening to Dan Carlin's Hardcore History podcast.
Yeah, I haven't done that particular
He's in the 5th year of World War I.
Wow.
And it's like overall, in the end, it's going to be like 25 hours of World War I.
Dang.
That I'll have listened to.
That's pretty cool.
But it's, anyway, bad times for everybody.
Yeah, right.
Like, nobody wants to go back 100 years to the way things were in 1915.
Oh, gosh.
So, but in addition to just music therapy, it's using certain kinds of music as medicine for people who are sick.
Okay.
So, there's been some studies done that listening to and playing music increases the body's production of the antibody immunoglobulin A, or I don't know how to say it.
Immunoglobulin, maybe?
Immunoglobulin.
Whoa.
Yeah, look at that, huh?
Wait, immunoglobulin?
Immunoglobulin. That's not a Star Trek word. That's a real word that scientists use. And natural in the blood. The cells that attack invading viruses and boost the immune system's effectiveness. And music also reduces levels of the stress hormone cortisol.
Okay.
And cortisol, everything that people think is bad that happens in their lives is linked to cortisol.
Right, yeah, that's true.
Like weight gain, cortisol, stress, heart attacks, cortisol.
Cortisol bad.
And I don't know why, we even have it. It's like our bodies want to kill us.
Well, it's got to have some purpose.
Sure, and the purpose is to kill us.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'm going to make you fatter first.
Well, we
and
can't
then I'm
all
gonna
live
kill
forever.
you.
There'd be no room left on the planet.
That's why we have to go to the stars. And
That's right.
There is plenty of room out there.
True.
There is plenty of room out there.
Very true.
So there was a study done at the University of Alberta.
Okay.
Okay. And the trial with 42 children ages 3 to 11 found that patients who listened to relaxing music while getting an IV inserted reported significantly less pain, and some demonstrated significantly less distress compared with patients who did not listen to music.
Wow, well, that's a nice, easy way to
Yeah, so I mean,
enhance the experience.
the idea is think about when you're getting your blood taken at the Red Cross or whatever,
Yeah.
like when they distract you.
Oh,
They ever
right,
distract
yeah.
you?
Yeah.
They're like, hey, look, an elephant. You're like,
So what'd you do today for breakfast? Or like, just what, yeah.
And then they stick you. You know, it's like, did you see the cookies? Oh, man. One time at the Red Cross, I
Oh,
went
no.
in. And this was after like a big 4th of July party or whatever. I came in the next day. I'm like, oh, I'm going to give blood. It's going to be great. And I partied a little too hard the day before.
Oh, no.
And so I was dehydrated. So they couldn't find the vein.
Oh, yeah, because they always say to drink a ton of water before you go in.
Yeah, and I
Makes it
drank.
easier.
I drank a ton before I went in, but not water.
Nice work.
Anyway, they just kept. They poked me like 12 times. I know. I'm like, hey, is this a stabbing or is this a
Punishment.
Anyway, you know what I could have used the whole time?
What's that?
Music.
Oh, man. Well, my dentist used to do that. He'd put headphones on if I had a cavity or something like that he was going to drill on.
Okay.
He'd put headphones with like classical music
So,
To calm-
So your dentist knew that.
for a calming effect. I mean, I'm not sure if it was, if he knew of the scientific
Sure. Or maybe
effect,
he
but
did it so that you wouldn't hear the sound of your
I
own
think
screams.
Yeah. Or just the sound of the drill,
Going right in. Oh,
But
man.
either way, I mean, in both senses, it helped the situation. So
Sure, and there's a few theories about it. They say that music helps produce a effect of blood flowing. It's called revulsive. I know,
that sounds unpleasant.
I know, because revulsion.
Yeah.
But a revulsive effect is that helps get the blood flowing. Music may give a patient a sense of control. Music could cause the body to release endorphins to counteract pain. So like those frequencies or hearing something just triggers endorphins.
Cool.
And slow music relaxes by slowing breathing and heartbeat. And in addition, researchers are exploring whether sound vibrations absorbed through the body can help ease the symptoms of Parkinson's disease, fibromyalgia, and depression.
Wow.
And I mean, fibromyalgia is a weird one because like nobody knows the cause of it and nobody knows how to, cure it and things like that. So that's
Right.
that's a
yeah,
tough
that's
one.
a very challenging condition.
But they think that maybe the combination of music therapy and things
Mm-hmm.
like that can if you don't know how to cure it, you have room for
Yeah.
some far out.
Yeah, and even if it just helps a little bit, I mean, if you're somebody suffering from that,
Yeah, it gives
Why
you.
not?
Yeah, I mean, one of my buddies was diagnosed with fibromyalgia like I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, probably, maybe a little longer than that. And he went to all these kind of doctors. He used up his health insurance, and then he started
Wow.
spending. I mean, he had a lot of savings and spent up his own money, and they couldn't do anything for him.
that's terrible.
They just said like, well, that's it. So it's like a diagnosis unknown kind of thing. And so, but this therapy they're working on is called vibroacoustic therapy, and it's a low frequency sound similar to a low rumble. And the patient lies on a mat or a bed or sits in a chair embedded with speakers that transmit vibrations at specific computer-generated frequency. I just missed the R on that one completely. I just said computer-generated.
You rascal, you habit, you.
Oh, man.
Gosh.
All right, Elmer Fudd over here. Welcome to see you.
I wait it.
It's rabbit season. Computer-generated frequencies that can be heard and felt. They liken the process to sitting on a subwoofer. Okay, well, we've all sat on subwoofers. Well, at least that's in bands, because you sit on some, we've all sat on subwoofers at some time.
Yeah.
And they're seeing if it can help people. At
Yeah.
that low frequency, it can
So that's
activate
interesting. So
something.
that's not so much music as it is just the actual
The
frequency.
frequencies. But
And
that's the thing. So, I mean, like Mozart and music and all these kind of things. I mean, classical music is very rigid when it comes to rules.
right.
And so,
Yeah, it's very like mathematical and
I mean, when you talk about how the medieval church would do things like they said that they wouldn't allow different kinds of harmonies because they
Right.
considered them evil. Mm-hmm. You know, if anything sounded dissonant. So there was
Yeah.
that's why they call it the perfect fourth, the perfect fifth, and things, because those are the harmonies that were allowed by the church. And so, those frequencies match up very, harmonically, and they also, they match up very naturally. Like
Right.
that's why when you listen to something like a fourth or a fifth, you're like, oh, that's really nice. And then it's when things start getting dissonant, they might be interesting to listen to, but our bodies
Yeah.
react to them differently. So we're going to talk a little bit more about frequencies in a second and how they can directly affect you. But one more thing about music as therapy. Now there was a video that went around the internet a couple years ago with an Alzheimer's patient that would
I
listen to
remember
music
that one.
from when he was a kid,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden his eyes lit up, and
Yeah, he was kind of in a just, I don't know, what do you call it? Not comatose, but
yeah, I mean that kind of
unresponsive
like
state.
stupor. Just,
Yeah, just sitting there, not speaking, not reacting to anything. And then once the music started playing, it's like he came back to life.
he started reacting.
Woke up,
And
yeah.
when you talk to him and things, I mean,
It's crazy.
he didn't know how to react, and so that music from his youth woke him up. And they've been doing that with a whole bunch of different Alzheimer's patients now. There's a documentary called Alive Inside. And the social worker, Dan Cohen, he founded a nonprofit organization, Music and Memory. And he's trying to demonstrate to the healthcare system music's ability to combat memory loss and restore a deep sense of self to those suffering from it. And we'll put the trailer for Alive Inside in the show notes so you can take a look.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, how many people have relatives affected by Alzheimer's disease?
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody, has been affected by this really nasty disease. And so, what if you could get somebody unresponsive, even look happy for
Yeah.
a minute?
Yeah.
I mean, even to be happy for the
Every
last
moment
couple weeks
of
or
life
something.
is precious.
So, I mean, music, we found out how, it really does affect us physically. And part of it can be tempo. There is an interesting research study that says that it's not necessarily the genre of music, like we talked about frustrating music that might affect you, but it's not the genre of music that can change your physiology as much as it is the tempo. So they did a study where it could be a polka at 60 beats a minute, and then your heart will slowly.
Okay.
Your heartbeat will
Yeah, it's
slowly
like-
match that 60 beats a minute.
Interesting.
It can be a heavy metal song at 60 beats a minute. Like, take one
It's
of those
not style specific.
old
then.
Black Sabbath songs
Yeah.
where it's slow. And so your entire heartbeat will slow down just by listening to that. So, I mean, the tempo is one thing, that hearing the beat, your body reacts to that no matter the genre. But we were talking about frequencies and tones a little bit ago. And that's something that your body's going to respond to as well. It doesn't have to be music. It can just be like a tone at a certain frequency and a tone at another frequency. Have you ever heard of binaural beats?
Yeah, I have. I think you told me about them
I
a couple
probably
years
did.
ago, and there's all those YouTube videos of people like listening to them and then going insane.
Right. And so, I mean, that's the joke about binaural. There was a thing going around, just like the Charlie thing with teenagers or tweens who are bored,
Right.
And so they see something. Okay, so they go get these binaural beat. A binaural beat is an auditory effect that's caused by playing a tone at two slightly different frequencies in each ear. So let's say your left ear has a frequency at 1400 hertz, and your right ear has a frequency just slightly different, like 1380 or 1370.
Sure.
So what's going to happen is you hear two tones, and the way your brain processes it, it tries to turn it into
To match them or whatever.
Yeah, it tries to turn it into one. And so instead of going doo, it'll be like doo,
It's so weird.
doo. Even though there's no pause,
Yeah.
your mind is creating.
It's doing that. Oh, cool.
Your mind is creating the beat. The effect was discovered in 1839 by Heinrich Wilhelm Dove, and it earned greater public awareness in the 20th century based on claims coming from the people in the alternative medicine community
Okay.
that said binaural beats could help induce relaxation, meditation, creativity, and other desirable mental states. But there's also the rumor that they simulate the effect of recreational drugs.
The dark side of binaural beats.
Right. So some dude.
It is kind of weird though, because it's like you're messing with your brain. Like, you know, you're actually making your brain do something weird that it's not used to doing, I guess, you know?
Or it's not used to doing from an external stimuli.
Right.
We'll talk about that in 1 second too. So the joke was that since it could simulate the effect of these drugs, that kids were listening to binaural beats. And then they were YouTubing it and acting like they were freaking out. Like, oh man, I'm seeing stuff. And obviously it was all placebo effect and kids being silly.
Yeah.
But that was a funny thing. That just passes through the community. So like, just like we had urban legends and Bloody Mary and things like that, these same
it's like a high tech version of those things.
Right. They still come through. It's just in a different, instead of just talking to each other in gym class, you're subscribing to each other's YouTube videos. But there's a thing called the Monroe Institute, and these guys were trying to get people to have out-of-body experiences. And so this started in the 70s. And
Okay.
like everything new age and weird, it started in the late
Right.
60s, early 70s. And the Monroe Institute uses binaural beats as part of its scientific technology, quote unquote,
Okay.
to help people achieve out-of-body experiences.
Interesting.
Now, I'm always the one to say, like, that sounds like it's completely made up and things. But the Wall Street Journal reported confirmation from the former director of the Intelligence and Security Command of the U.S. Army that they had sent personnel to the Institute. So the U.S. Army believes in out-of-body experiences.
Well, they at least
They
were
explored
experimenting with it. Yeah.
Yeah, they completely did it. So binaural beats. And so there's a thing called brain entrainment. And that's what binaural beats can help you to do. So if there's a certain discrepancy between the frequencies, that gets your brain to operate at the hertz of that discrepancy.
Okay.
So when we talk about binaural beat with brain waves, there's gamma waves, which we are, which we are currently, right now, that's when higher mental activity, including perception, problem solving, fear, consciousness, like we're alert. We're working on a podcast, so obviously we're very attuned to what's going on. Now that's above 40 hertz.
Okay.
So when your brain's in that zone, when your
Like
brain,
normal functioning.
yeah, when
just
your brain
being a
waves are in
human.
that zone, like it's above 40 hertz. Now you go down to 13 to 39 hertz, that's beta. That's when you're active, busy. That it's not quite as high level, but you're still thinking about stuff.
You're doing things, but you're not like focusing, concentrating.
Exactly right.
Okay.
So 7 to 13 hertz is alpha waves. That's you're relaxing. You get into REM sleep, REM, rapid eye movement.
Okay.
Have you ever seen somebody sleeping?
Yeah.
And then their eyes are closed and their eyes are looking all around, and you're kind of like freaking out. Like,
Yeah.
what is this person
Oh,
doing?
man.
He's gonna,
What's happening?
dreams. You're in the alpha wave state. 4 to 7 hertz is theta. That's deep meditation, relaxation. That's no REM. That's when you're not dreaming at all and you're just out. And then delta, deep dreamless sleep, complete loss of body awareness. That's like when your mind forgets that you have a body.
Checks out.
Yeah, your mind's like, hey, I'm out of here. So the thing about binaural beats, what they can do is by having the discrepancy in the beats be closer. So if you take frequency, so frequency and the measure of frequency is the hertz. So like we were saying 1400 hertz to 1440 hertz. Well, that would be inside the beta waves.
Okay.
So
I
then
see.
if you're hearing that discrepancy, your mind starts operating closer to that. And that's why it's
Okay.
called brain entrainment. So you use these frequencies
Yeah.
to get your mind in those states.
Okay.
And then when you're at the smallest one, like less than 4 hertz away, the binaural beat is very subtle because the frequencies are so close to each other. And then you're getting into closer to delta.
Okay.
So that you can use that. People
I
use
gotcha.
binaural beats to get themselves
to trick themselves into that state.
in these states. And also, binaural beats could be used as a diagnostic tool. People with Parkinson's can't detect them.
Really?
Yeah. So that's what this
that's
researcher
interesting.
Gerald Oster, he thought that they were really an important tool for cognitive and neurological research. And then also, and this is something interesting, he reported that there's gender differences in perception of the beats. Women seem to experience two separate peaks in their ability to perceive the beats, peaks possibly correlating with specific points in their menstrual cycle because of the hormones involved. And so the theory is because we were talking about how frequencies can activate, different parts, endorphins, hormones are the same
brain
kind
chemistry.
of thing. So that's the idea. So different levels of hormone may determine like how you can listen to things and stuff.
Interesting.
Like that.
Whoa.
So if you're more interested in delta waves and theta waves and brain entrainment and stuff like that, there's a new YouTube series called Sense8. I'm not YouTube, Netflix. New Netflix series called Sense8 from the Wachowski family. I'd say Wachowski brothers, but one of them changed. They used to be the Wachowski brothers. They made The Matrix.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then one of them switched, or he's transgender, or she is transgender. And so the Wachowskis. So they made this new thing called Sense8. And they had a thing called Brainwave Symphony. And they made a little song based on people's brainwaves.
Okay.
And so we'll put a link to the Sense8 Brainwave Symphony.
And what's the point of the song? I mean, is it supposed like?
Well, the idea of Sense8 is like these people start being connected to each other psychically around
that's
the
cool.
world. I haven't watched it yet. It's
Interesting.
on my Netflix list.
Okay.
But and so the idea is that they're trying to use these brainwaves to create music.
Gotcha.
And I listen to the music, and I wouldn't say it's a pop hit, but it is interesting the frequencies
Well, and it's
that come up
different.
with.
Yeah, something different. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of music, our song for this week.
Wait, I have to interrupt you. I'm
What's
sorry.
up?
How can you possibly? I thought for sure it would be in the outline, Mike.
What did I miss?
You didn't talk about the brown note.
Oh, yes.
A pop culture
Oh, my God. How did I miss
reference
that?
is completely applicable to this topic.
Yes, it's perfect. Wendy.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
No,
but I was
please.
waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it. And I'm like, when's he
Thank
going to bring
you.
it up?
Thank you. Okay, for you guys that don't know what the brown note is, I'm sure you're familiar with South Park. South Park are the profane children on the Comedy Central Network that sometimes tackles current events, but mostly just makes dumb jokes. But it's still hilarious, and I still love South Park. And anyway, they had one episode where they tried to come up with the correct frequency that would make people poop their pants. Like, literally, they called it the brown note.
Yeah, and we joke about that frequently at shows.
Right, because I feel like we've played the brown note on several occasions, and I think our audience members feel that way too.
It's just it's silly.
Yes, but we'll put a link to that too, so you can see. And that was the joke, that they found the frequency that
Yes.
made people poop their pants.
Right. So
Oh yeah, thank you, Wendy. I almost forgot about
no
that.
problem. I felt like this episode would not be complete without
Brown
bringing
note,
that
I
up
think,
at least.
No,
So.
that was great.
Okay, so music.
Correct. Now here's a song that doesn't use the brown note,
Oh, thank goodness. We wouldn't do that to our listeners. We
No.
like them too much.
but we did something a little different with the song this week, and it's an ambient song that uses binaural beats to take you from, or if you're listening to it, it's probably not enough time actually, but it's taking you from the gamma frequency to the beta frequency to alpha to theta to delta, the deepest level.
Okay.
And then it brings you back out. So in 5 minutes, it gives your brain a chance to go into delta and to come out.
Cool.
So that's what we're doing.
We can see if anybody has any good results from that.
Yeah, and
from listening to it.
if somebody freaks out because of binaural beats and sees that, that's great too. So let's get to the song, and it's our binaural beats track.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. You can find us online at OtherSidePodcast.com. Until next time, see you on the other side.
Oh, I just saw a shooting star.